welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Alexandre R. Thompson, writer of the YA fantasy, The Dawning of Acceptance. If you're new to the channel, this is a dedicated space to help aspiring authors like myself become one day published. And through my trials and errors of trying to reach this goal, I hope to teach you guys something new and improve your craft along the way. Where we last left off, we were talking about Save the Cat Writes a Novel. This is a phenomenal resource to help writers keep their thoughts in order and write a book that flows and has a proper beginning, middle, and ends, and all the necessary milestones that you need when you're creating a book. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this. Pull up a seat to the bar, grab your favorite drink, and here we go. So next one, we have a catalyst. Catalyst is so important, guys. Catalyst is like the beat that kicks everything off, right? So the catalyst is an inciting incident of a life-changing event that happens to the hero, which will catapult them into a new world or new way of thinking. And an action beat that should be big enough to prevent the hero from being able to return to their status quo setup world. So it has to be big, right? That's gonna make them so they have to go jump from where they are, the normal everyday life. Think about Superman on the farm in Kansas, doing his everyday day, and then something happens, and he has to leave. If you've seen the Superman movie, the catalyst was when General Zod comes and he's like, "You are housing one of our aliens. If he does not come, then we're gonna start tearing stuff up, right?" Well, before that, Superman was living on the farm with his dad, doing all the farming stuff, and then suddenly this guy comes and says, "If you don't come out and show yourself, we're gonna start destroying stuff." That was a huge catalyst. He cannot go back and ignore that and go back to his normal life after that happened, right? In my story, the catalyst is when Riley first meets Yurkin for the first time. He is introduced to this world of Yurkins and sees that these amazing animals are phenomenal, and he, and his brother beforehand was already pursuing this. So his brother leaves to go get one, and then Riley is kind of thrust into this world because he's trying to follow in his brother's, in his brother's footsteps, trying to catch up to his brother who's already left. But another example is in The Wizard of Oz, right? The catalyst, that big old tornado comes through and literally picks her up and moves her to another world. So the catalyst, it has to be a big major event that forces your character to leave their normal beginning setup life. So next we have the debate. So this is a reaction sequence in which the hero debates what they will do next. It usually presented in the form of a question, such as, should I go or not? The purpose of this beat is to show that your hero's reluctance to change. The debate, it's an important one, but I honestly, just as a reader and a fan, I don't know if it's something you necessarily have to have, but if you're following exactly by this structure, then it's in here. But in some stories, like I said, like for example in Superman, there wasn't really much of a debate. Like, he knew he had to go because people were gonna be hurt. But there still was a section where they did it small. If you don't remember, in that movie where he goes to his preacher and he talks. He has a conversation with the father and kind of asks him, what should I do? He said, what if I he kind of has the question, like, what if this person doesn't come and this happens? So, but at the end of the day, like, you kind of know he was gonna go because he has to, because otherwise, Earth was going to be doomed. But this is that debate section. After the catalyst has happened, now your character has to decide, do I go to take the call to action? Do I leave? Right? But again, your catalyst has to be so big that your main character really can't say no, right? But you still can put that debate in there just to show that reluctance and that vulnerability and that humanness to your character, that most of us, if we had to go to war, it wouldn't be a snap judgment. Oh yeah, I'm going to go to war, right? You would probably think about it, ponder about it, if you really want to do this and put yourself at risk, right? So break into 2. So this is the start of the second act. The moment that your hero decides to accept the call to action. leaves their comfort zone, tries something new, or ventures into the new world or a new way of thinking. It's a decisive action beat that separates the status quo world and Act 1 from the new upside down world in Act 2. So one big thing here that you guys have to understand when you get into Act 2, and there has to be a base transition from that status quo setup world where he was doing his normal day. For example, Superman was at the farm, and then when he goes into jumps in Action 2, he's now, he goes to his spaceship, gets his Superman suit, and he enters into the world of Kryptonians and battling and all that, right? So it's a big difference from his farm to the big city, right? Where he's got to battle the Kryptonians that came to the planet. So when you jump into your Act 2, make sure that it is clear that your hero is going to action. Again, we'll talk more about dynamics and the heroes, but make sure your hero is active. Like when he's gonna go, or she's gonna go to the start Act 2, it's clear they are in progress, in motion, moving towards the ultimate goal, which is, again, we said the theme stated, realizing that theme and living that theme. So their first action is them taking that step into Act 2, which could be done in many ways based on your story. But no matter what is the catalyst, set it off. Now they had to decide, am I going to go call action? They said, yes, I am. And then they stepped into that new world and left their old world. Make sure that transition is very clear. Okay, beat 7. B story. The introduction of the new characters of the character who will ultimately serve to help your hero learn the theme. Also referred to as the helper character. This can be a love interest, a nemesis, a mentor, a family member, or a friend. So in my story, I had multiple B characters. One of the main ones was Riley's brother. He really helps Riley to move from his status quo into his new world and start to really transition into his next portion of his life. Also, his best friend is also a big part of this. So a B story character doesn't necessarily have to be one person, but it does need somebody that's going to help your hero realize their flaws and that they need to embrace the theme. So this character probably already embodies these traits, whatever your theme is. Let's say your theme is, all dogs go to heaven, right? Well, this other character is already living the life of man's best friend, just as it should. I mean, that's kind of a sloppy example, but I think you get what I'm saying. All right, so then we move on to the fun and games beat. This is where we see the hero in their new world. They're either loving it or hating it, succeeding or floundering, also called the promise of the premise. This section represents the hook of the story, why the reader picked up the novel in the first place. So guys, the premise, the promise of the premise, this is what your book's about, right? So for me, my story is about extraordinary human beings who can manipulate and control animals, wild magical animals called Yurkin, and then have their powers bestowed upon them, right? So in this section of the story, you should be seeing amazing, feats that are related to your premise. So let's say you're making like a Star Wars story, right? In this section, I want to see lightsaber fights. I want to see star blasters. I want to see the Force being used. All this stuff is happening in this section, and at the same time, your character is either excelling or he's not, right? And so throughout this is the part where your character is going to either sink or swim. And that will bring us to the midpoint of the Save the Cats. We're going to stop there for today, but when we jump in tomorrow into the midpoint, we'll kind of see what the purpose of that is and where it goes. But before this, we have that fun and games, and your character in the fun and games, he's either excelling or he's failing, right? Or she's failing. And that's what sets up our next beat. So, but as always, guys, before we get out of here, I want to leave you with a tangible tip that you can use right away and put into your writing, and it's going to help you immediately. So let me real quick take a peek at my notes to make sure that I don't miss any of the awesome information I'm about to give you. And then we'll circle back at the end and give a quick recap to make sure we kind of got all these beats and how can you use that as well. Okay, guys, so tangible tip today. How to stay in the zone when you are unable to write. So we all live busy lives. Sometimes, we don't have time to sit down even 10 minutes. Like we said last time, we talked about, how do you become a better writer, and it's write every day. Sometimes even 5-10 minutes we can't get sometimes to ourselves, right? To sit down and write. So these are some tips to help you kind of stay in that zone when you can't get to your keyboard or computer or a pen pad or whatever you do your manuscript on. So when your writing disappears, how do you stay creative and in that zone? Here's number one: mental rehearsal. This can be done anytime, anywhere, guys. I personally tend to do this before bed. Sometimes I'm laying down or even in my car. But this is an idea where you just focus and think about your story just in your brain. Kind of play through some scenes maybe that you want to write. Maybe just maybe a character. Maybe you think about a new character you want to introduce. But just mentally visualizing and thinking about those concepts. Maybe even run through some dialogue in your head. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if Sam told Samantha that he loved her in the next chapter? And then maybe in your mind kind of play through that scene. This is helpful because when you do get to writing, you're not starting from a blank slate, and you already have some juice flowing. So when you get down to write, you're like already kind of in that mode, and you already know what you want to write about because you've been thinking about it for an hour, maybe throughout the whole week until you finally got to the computer. So that's a really great way to keep yourself in the moment and not let yourself get too removed from your book, even when you're not actually physically being able to write. Next one. So, voice notes or dictation, guys. This is a great one. I use this one all the time. I have a pretty long commute from work, so I use that hour that I drive to work to use like a voice notes and so sometimes too, like if you're not gonna do it right away and you have this great idea, something pops in your head, you want to lose that idea, right? So doing a voice note, say, hey, this character does X, Y, and Z in the next scene, so that when you go to write, you're not forgetting about it again. You're not starting on that blank slate. You're ready to jump in, hit the ground running when you start writing. And then, of course, later on, you can always revise that and clean up whatever it is that you said on your notepad, whatever. But an audio kind of voice note or dictation is a great way to continue that information gathering when you can't necessarily write. Mobile or pocket notes. Another one that I use. I write a ton of scenes on Notepad on my phone because your phone's always on you, and I can just jump on there if I have an idea comes to mind. I can get on there and just write. But you can use old school style notepad journal. It doesn't matter. As long as you have something you can go ahead and jump to. You can write down bursts of dialogues or scenes or sketches, any inspiration that comes to you that hits you. Get that down on paper right away. So carrying a notepad on you, like I said, I get to use my phone because I can just pull the notes out on my iPad or my Apple phone and just do and write it down. But again, whether it's a physical notepad or notes or an app or something on your phone, capture the idea immediately, piece it together, right? And you can always, once you've got it, you can go ahead and transfer it to your laptop or desktop, whatever you're writing on, and then you can always clean it up. But I do this quite a lot. On my commute home, I've used my notepad. I'll voice into it, and it will write down my scene, and then I'll put it back on my computer when I get home. That's a great way to stay connected. And here's a little bonus tip, guys. When you end each writing tip, leave a quick note about what's next. So if you're just finished your chapter, put something like next scene, mother walks into the building and catches her son stealing something, whatever. So then when you go in there and you read that part, immediately those creative juices start flowing. And again, guys, also these tips too that I gave you today are also great for writer's block. If you have a situation like, I don't know what to write about, maybe you don't know what to write, but just thinking about that, envisioning an idea in your head can sometimes spur you into writing something. Just having or just a scene. You may not know how you want to start that scene or write it, but thinking about it in your head, like I said, maybe you're laying down, before bed, or you're just watching some TV or something. You're kind of playing your mind like, what do I want to do next? And the scene pops you. That can help you work through some of those days where you have that creative gap, or like I said, what this tip is about, you can't get to your computer and write. Just a quick update on where I'm at with my book. As you all know, I just finished my first novel. It's called The Dawning of Acceptance. It's a YA fantasy in that genre. It's 110,000 words, and I think it's a pretty good story. So last time we left off, I had mentioned I was curating agents. I'm trying to find a home for my book so that it can be read and published around the world. As that goes, I queried a few agents. I did hear back from 2 of them. It's been a few weeks since I did that. Unfortunately, they were rejection letters. That's part of the game. You got to kind of have thick skin in this, I guess. So I'm not going to get discouraged. I'm going to still stay at it. I'm going to continue working on my craft, try to get my book better, and keep reaching out to publishers and agents. And hopefully, at some point, I will get picked up. I always think of that story that everyone always tells that J.K. Rowling's she had 13 or 14 rejections before she finally got her deal. So I'm gonna stay on the grind. I hope you will too as well. But in the meantime, let me know where you're at with your guys' journey. Write to me. I'd love to hear about it. Love to share stories and ideas. How you are in your process, what were you successful in, what didn't work. Go ahead and reach out. You can leave it in the comments, or you go ahead and email me. It's all there in the bio. We'd love to hear about where you guys are at with your journey as well. But as always, guys, stay on the grind, stay focused, stay positive, and I'm here to help you guys, and together we're all going to become better writers. Signing off. See you next time.